Sup guys, this is DJ Newell and welcome back. This video is gonna be, I actually don't know how long it's gonna be. It's gonna be me talking about a few things and my personal take on um, life as a whole, YouTube as a whole. I might try to split it up, but I don't know if I'm gonna do it yet. Far as I can tell, the way things have been going for me is they've been somewhat up and down. Uh, like I've gotten a lot of moments in my life where it was just like, uh, you put too much stress on yourself. You don't have to do this or that. And when I was growing up, it was like, oh, you don't have to put stress on yourself. You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about that. You're just a kid. Just be a kid. In my mind, I understood that. But growing up, and I do this video mainly so people can understand, because when I got into the whole YouTube thing, I wanted to not limit myself. I wanted to be as creatively possible, do as much creatively possible as I can. That being the video game tutorials, these discussions slash vlog videos, the giving my personal take on stuff, because I wanted to, you know, give that sense of connection with people that, oh, you're not alone. Because I don't want people to go through, I've gone through life where it's just like serious moments of, I know I can't do this, but I can't do it because of this. I had, getting back on the life topic, is I've been into a lot of situations where I feel like people need to understand that at times life is a pyramid scheme. Everybody's always going to be fighting to get to the top. Someone's always going to be trying to sell you something. And I feel like part of us get that, but nobody's willing to say that. Like, I have gotten that, and I go into job interviews, and I feel like everybody should have this mindset when going into a job interview that, yeah, you need a job, but they need you also. So what is the mutual gain in that? If you're spending more money than you're putting in, then what are you truly gaining? And comes from a conversation I had with my mom the other day, that I had this opportunity presented to me for this job, financing job, that they said, oh, you can do this job. You have to be really passionate about it. Um, the way to be successful in it. But to get started, you need to put $200 into it for your licensing. And got that, but in my mind, not a lot of people know my financial background, but I currently do not have any money. And I don't do the whole YouTube thing because the whole possible gain. I do it because I have the option of expressing myself fully, because I never liked the idea of going into a certain type of field and being like, oh, I like this field, but I could be doing this. I liked the idea of I could be. And with that financing job, they gave me that. I'm not going to say the name because I don't know for 100% if I will or won't do it. I'm still trying to figure it out. I have something scheduled with them later on today that I'm just like, you still have to sell me on the idea, because I still currently don't have any money for it. But what's your reasoning behind it? And when it comes to jobs, sometimes you got to do your research, not just look up jobs for the sake of, oh, I need a job, I need to get money right now. You need to look into these jobs, do your research on each company, because like I said, At times, life is a pyramid scheme, meaning you're always trying to work your way up to the top. And with some companies, it's worth it to bide your time, work your way to the top. Other companies, it isn't. You got to figure that out for yourself. I know a few companies on the top of my head that I don't think you should work for, but are great to start off with, mainly being fast food restaurants or any type of construction type deal. Anything that you're giving your physical all in is great to start off in, but it's not great to be there forever. Um, Back to the financial job, there was a topic that they brought up that there's these three G's. I can't remember the last one um, that they brought up, but they said that you would either fall for greed, girls, or glory. I believe is what they said. Um, as a man, I don't know. It's like girls do fall for girls too, but I found that as you would either fall for greed, the ideal of once you start making money, that's why a lot of people end up broke. The idea of, oh, I need to get this and this and this and this, which is a hard topic to face, that you're gonna fall for it eventually. I have too, but you have to keep in mind what's your end goal. Focus on your end goal, and it'll keep you from spending X amount of money on these dumb things. Girls, when it comes to girls or a relationship in general, because I'm not going to exclude anybody, um, you're going to get that urge, oh, I need to spend my money on them, do as much as possible for them because you care. And that's all well and good, but if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of another person. It's a fact that I have to learn and that I'm still learning and I'm currently dealing with. Because it's like, there's so many people in my life that I care about that I feel like I need to take care of because they can't do it or they expect me to be so great, so I want to live up to their expectations. Don't live up to anyone's expectations. Live up to your own, which is something that everybody needs to come to grips with, terms with. Or glory, I believe, was the last one. Um, a lot of people, like I said, I didn't get into YouTube for the whole, oh, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to make so much money. I got into YouTube because I want to be able to express myself freely. I want to be able to not limit myself, which ties into the whole expressing yourself freely, but they're two separate topics for the simple fact that expressing yourself freely means you can do whatever you want. Not limiting yourself means that, yes, you can do whatever you want, but you could do yourself whatever you want as in a broad scope. You can, like, whatever topic you're trying to focus on, you can do all of that. That's what I mean by not limiting yourself. Expressing yourself freely means that is the second half of that coin that is just even a broader scope on a broader scope. And that's how I feel about that. I feel like a lot of people throughout life, me included, because I'm only human and I won't not limit myself to this perspective because we all fall for it. We look through things look at the world through a keyhole. By that I mean that we look at the world as like, oh, the things are certain this way, it has to be that way, and I've tried to never limit myself, but when you have a certain mindset, you do limit yourself even if you don't notice it. Like, I have limited myself in the sense that um, when I've been presented opportunities, Like I said earlier, people do have to convince you to do these things, but you have to also be like, do I truly want this? That's the limiting aspect of it. Is like when I started the whole my computer career thing, for those of you who don't know, as I started that and with the sole purpose of working on computers. And I talked to my mom, which is one of my biggest supports, you have to find those people that are your biggest supports, that will challenge your thinking. And at times I try to challenge my mom's thinking too, because I feel like, yeah, at times she limits herself, but I more so want to challenge her thinking because I see my mom as being such a great person that she can be just as great as she thinks I can be, if not better. Not because I'm not great or anything. That's that mindset of the limitation. At times in this video, it might seem like I'm rambling, but I'm just trying to hit as many topics because life, I feel, is very complex. We all get that it's very complex, but at times we try to simplify things. We try to limit our scope, not even on purpose, but it's like, oh, my family's only done this for years, so we can only do this. I never had that mindset per se. I had the mindset that my family has always tried to do this, and this, and either succeeded or failed at it. And I just wanted to be successful enough that I could handle it all, and at the same time come back to my family and be like, you don't have to worry about it. Like any dream that you possibly could have, not do like some parents do, that lie to you and be like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want. In a way, it's a lie, because you could do whatever you want. It's just within reason. Doing whatever you want is a concept that is great in theory, but you got to know your own limitations, and you got to know what you can't. By limitations, I mean, like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but you got to know what you can and can't do currently. Like, that's a concept that I've been dealing with for years. Is that when I was younger and I would be depressed and going through my PTSD and stuff, that that pissed me off is people constantly tell me, oh, you had nothing to worry about, nothing to deal with. But even as a young child, I knew that, yeah, I could probably just play around and have fun all the time and be blissfully ignorant for a while. That would be all well and good. But as a child, I knew for a simple fact that that's not the mindset to go through. You can't just go through your life being like, oh, I got my whole life to do this. I got my whole life to do that. It's like, in my mind, it was, I got my whole life to do this, this, and this. How am I going to do it currently? So what I did back in middle school and high school is, when I wanted to do this computer thing, I'm going to go back to the computer thing a few times. By computer thing, I mean working on computers. I wanted to always, for the longest time, there's two things I wanted to do: work on computers and make music. There's a way for me to do both. I just wanted to do one at a time so I can get the knowledge on one, then get the knowledge on the other, and combine the two. Because I wanted to be able to not limit myself, but at the same time be the most informed person in the room about the thing that I wanted to do. That ties back into the whole topic of knowing what you want, knowing what you need to do, how you're going to get there. Because a lot of people say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I know how to get there. And I've been, At times I've done that. It's like I've gotten to a point where I'm like, oh, I know what I want to do. I know how to do it. But at the same time, knew that there was limitations. So understanding your own limitations is key to life. And it's like when you get to that point where you understand your own limitations, there's a lot of self-doubt that comes into play because of the simple fact that, oh, I know my limitations, but what can I truly do? What can't I truly do? Is something that gets distracting. And the whole point of the video, I'm not completely finished with the whole topic of life, um, is that to express to people that you're not the only one going through things, that life at times is a pyramid scheme, can be overwhelming, and that to inform people, because there's a lot of topics like that I probably won't get into right now that nobody address because of the simple fact that, oh, that's just a meta. That's just how, by meta I mean that's just how the way people think. This is just the norm. Um, like people don't address this much often. Let me reach out my arm a little bit. So there's probably a longer list than this, but I feel like there's at least good 5. Um, People don't address depression that often in their videos because what happens is a lot of times people initially have that goal of getting famous with YouTube or with anything that they're doing, make as much money as possible, that they don't address depression. They wait until they get big enough to even talk about it. And I feel like that's a bad thing because then what you're doing is you're not dealing with stuff properly and you're holding on to it as long as possible so you can express that. People don't address good sexual health because a lot of times we go through high school or even when I learned about sex back in elementary school, I wasn't being taught. I just learned about it because I was the type of person that I wanted to be, like I said, the most informed person in the room. I learned about it at a young age, partially dealing with some stuff that happened to me in the past, but that's not the point. We don't address good sexual health, like what does sex really mean in a relationship, because usually it's supposed to be a true expression of love. And if you're willing to have sex with somebody, you should be able to properly express that without being some sort of horn dog about it. We don't, in today's society, we don't address rape because it's a big thing that happens through closed doors that nobody wants to talk about because it's scary. And I get that it's scary. I started a little bit. I get that it's scary, and given my experiences with people and my own personal experiences with a lot of different things, that yeah, that's something that's scary. We don't address relationships as often as we do, because what'll happen is we'll get on social media, see people being happy, pretending to be happy. We'll see celebrities having relationships with people and never showing the bad, because you don't want people that being that involved in your life but are dealing with stuff with relationships and don't give, you know, proper advice really to deal with stuff, because everybody looks to these people that have all the glory and all the fame and all the things that we don't have, that, oh yeah, they're so successful, so this is how you're supposed to be. And then it gets to the point where we're just constantly faking it. And then I might throw in a 6th one, but we don't express sexuality, it's actually find it very exciting and amusing that amusing probably is not the right word to it, because usually when people think amusing, they think funny. When I think amusing, I don't always think funny. I think excitement, uh, amusing. I think a way to express yourself throughout the emotional spectrum. And the sixth one that I could say that we don't really talk about, this video's getting pretty long, and personally speaking, I don't really care if everybody watches this. I just want to get these statements out. Is that we don't explain to our youth, and at times our parents, we don't explain to them how who we are or how we want to become. Because a lot of times we're always stuck in a mindset, like back to the previous topic, is seeing people happy and wanting to be that. Be you. And that's part of what I got from the financing job opportunity, is be you, be the best you can be. And a lot of people are still figuring that out. That's why there's so many different sexualities. Part of me used to think that a lot of different sexualities that just come up is because people are, I know now that is because people are still trying to figure stuff out. But part of me used to think is because they're just, some people are making up stuff. And there are some people that do make up a sexuality just so they can express themselves. But at the same time, it's because everything's been so closeted. Like I made a statement as a joke towards, because my friend, she has a kid. He went in the closet playing around, playing hide and seek with me, because I don't know, that's adorable to me, and kids do that. But it was a true statement, even though I meant it as a joke. Once you go into the closet, it's a hard place to get out. And I said that as a joke, but then I realized, no, that joke has layers to it. Because in actuality, in today's society, a lot of people pretend to be something that they're not. And I don't mean just in sexuality terms, because sexuality terms is another broad spectrum that I can get into in another video. Because there's so much multifaceted to it, because of the simple fact that, oh yeah, life is complex. Back to my previous topic earlier, that life is complex. Not everything is cut and dry. There's gray areas. But everybody is always looking to someone that's better than them to become that person, not to become their self. So what we have to do as a society is to get in our mindset that, oh, life is complex, and we need to figure out what complex person we want to be, which is, I see it as amusing to say that out loud, because I've thought about it a lot. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want out of life? Is a lot of times a topic that's brought up to me, and I'm just like, sometimes I don't know, and it's okay to not know, but that's why I was in the mindset when I was younger that I need to figure it out, because I was told, I'm sorry, Delilah, my sister's cat, just keeps walking past me and rubbing up against my feet. I don't know. Maybe cats can sense hugs or something. But back on topic is that a lot of times people don't want to be themselves because they want more out of life. And I get that. There's nothing wrong with wanting and trying to attain more out of life. But you have to keep in mind, what do you actually want out of life? How do you get to that point? And I couldn't give everybody the answers, but I do have a few ideas. First of which, starting off with, if you're looking for a relationship or like I said, a healthy relationship is something that we don't talk about in good sexual health. Not just not getting a disease, but having a good sexual relationship with your partner, is that we don't talk about it mainly because we don't truly understand it. And like I said, life is complex in that regard. But once you figure out what you want, and that means, like I've done in the past, spending a lot of time away from people, alone, to truly figure out. I'm not saying just be a shut-in, because I didn't do that. I sure as hell didn't do that. Because I spent a lot of time away from people, and it was only like, I would use minimum interaction with people just so I could write out my thoughts, so I can be able to think of what I needed, what I wanted, and so I can be able to express that to people. Sometimes you got to take a step back in order to find what you truly want out of a relationship. When it comes to other things like a job or a career, preferably a career. I hope for everyone they have a career, something that they truly love doing. But when it comes to a job, that's all well and good. It's all hunky-dory. It's all important. But a job is something you do for the moment, not something you do forever. If a job becomes something you do forever and you hate it, then that's not what you need to be doing. That's a form of torture. And I had to figure this out because I've had at least, I want to say, 5 different jobs. 3 through, government tax type deal. 1 was mowing lawns. It was a great way to start off as a job. 1 was just working on cars with my grandpa. I wasn't getting paid for it. I would get paid for it sometimes, but it would be me helping him with his car. He'll pay me or feed me or some stuff like that. It sounds weird saying, "Oh yeah, your grandpa pays for food for you." Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's just that in my mind, the way I see things is, when it comes to that, is that even I got paid for my effort, and that was a job, something I was doing for the moment, not something that's going to become a career. Because at one point in time, I wanted to be a mechanic, but I realized throughout life, given the opportunity, I got the opportunity. I tried my best to get the job with them. They're gave me a whole list of stuff that I need to go through first, and I realized, oh yeah, I could do these things, but what you're also presenting me with is some excuses. Because if a job is asking you, oh, you need your license, but we'll provide it to you after you work for so many hours or whatever, then that's a good job. But if they're telling you, oh, right off the bat, you need to spend this much money in order for you to go anywhere in this company, yeah, you got to spend money to make money. But if you don't have anything, don't just jump for it, because then you're just going to put yourself in a hole that eventually you won't be able to crawl out of. Complexity of it all. All of this plays into my theory that I was writing. I need to finish writing, rather. It's a thesis about ultimate duality, and I will get into that in another video. But back on topic. If you're spending so much money at a job or career, shoveling out money before you even made anything, and then it could be a little daunting. It could be a little overwhelming, because that's why I said do your research on these jobs or careers that you're trying to do. Make sure it's something you actually want to do, because you have to be 100% convinced. Because going through life being like, oh, I'm 75%, I'm 80%, like those are good percentages, but later on, that 20% is going to be weighing in the back of your mind, going to make you think, oh, maybe this is not the career path for me. And then you get on this career path and you've been doing it for years. After you figured out, oh, maybe this is not for me, it's a little too late. You got to stick on it until you're able to switch into something else. And that's the whole daunting thing about, your own mortality, is that I think about is that tomorrow's not promised. And it's a statement that's constantly being said that everybody sometimes joke about. But in my mind, I got to do as much as possible, as soon as possible, which forms a league of stress on you to begin with, which I understand. But at the same time, it's just like that a little amount of stress, you got to know if it's worth it. Because you can't just go through life and just be like, oh yeah, I want to do this, I got to go for this, but I don't know how to do it. So do the research, do the look into different career paths, look into what I want out of life. It's like, here's the scenario for you. Say somebody wants to be astronaut. What do you have to do to become an astronaut? Well, there's stuff like can't be convicted of felony. You got to go to college for X amount of years. You got to apply to NASA. You got to I don't know all the steps, but those are just some of them. And that's some things you need to focus on. So when you're picking a career or a job path is something, like I said, temporary. Career path is something for your whole entire future that you know that you will be set on for, if not your whole life, a good chunk of your life, to the point where you can be able to be like, I can afford most anything I want. And that's a